Cole. So I'm not sure which bird is yours, but I'll show you how to find, the maximum height, the total distance for any of the birds, and then you can, figure out which one. I don't know which of these 4 birds is your bird that you chose, but we can go through and answer the question. So for the first one, the yellow bird, they gave you these 2.60 and 20.60, and he told you that halfway between here was the maximum height of 22 yards. So halfway between there, the coordinates for that vertex are going to be 16, 22. I'm going to assume that all of these things are yards, 6 yards and 26 yards. So if you have that, or this is your vertex form for the equation for parabola. And then if you fill in what you know, you're going to pick one of your 2 points, and I picked this 6, 0 because the numbers were smaller. So my y coordinate is 0. I don't know my value for A. The x value for that is 6. H and k, remember those are the coordinates for the vertex. So h is 16 and k is 22. And then you can solve for A by moving that 22 to the other side. 6 minus 16 would be negative 10 squared would be 100. And then negative 22 over 100, we can reduce that and make that, what, negative 11 over 50. So the equation for the yellow bird then, if I go back and fill in the things that I know, negative 11 over 50 is the A value. X and Y change, so we'll stay in the equation. And my H and K are the vertex. Here's the equation for my yellow bird's parabolic trajectory there. The black bird, he gave you the equation. It's not in vertex form, and it doesn't really matter. So you have an equation for it, so we'll put that in the graphing calculator in a second. The red bird, it's going to follow the same thing that you just did for the yellow bird there. Even though the graph that he or she gives you, it actually looks like it's a semicircle there. It's not. I think they gave you the height was 15, and again, halfway between the 0 and the 24 would be 12, so that's where this number had come from. So the coordinates for that vertex, H and K, are 12, 15. And again, you can do the same thing again using this vertex form for the equation for the parabola. So y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Pick one of your 2 points. I would pick 0, 0. So y is 0. Figure out what a is going to be. X is 0. H coordinate is 12. And the k coordinate is 15. And then if we solve for a, get 144. So A is negative 15 over 144. That reduces to something, negative 5 over 48. So the red bird's equation, I'm just going to put it down the bottom here, is going to be y equals negative 5 over 48. X minus the x coordinate, which is 12, plus that k value, which is 15. Right, and then the blue bird, I'm assuming that you've done scatter plots in here, and that's why he gave this to you as a set of data. So I'm going to pull up the graphing calculator, and we'll come up with that equation for the blue bird then. So in the graphing calculator, hold on, the board's messed up a little bit. So in your calculator, you'll have to go in and enter that data that you were given. So that'll be in the stat function. And you'll edit some lists. Hold on, something else is going to pop up here, and I'll close it out in just a second. All right, here we go. So go in, you can edit your lists. It's just in stat. So you're going to type in your the values that they gave you for this. Oh, it lost all my values here. Crap. All right. So I have data in here already. I thought I cleared this out and entered all of this. So if you enter all of these in here, sorry, this is like super painful. I usually have this all entered in. I did it just so you can save it for some reason. Right. Don't enter 20, 21, and 22 because you don't have y values for those. So it's just going to confuse your calculator and give you some kind of wacky error message. If you arrow up to the top there, if you hit hit clear and hit enter, it deletes all the information in that list. So you have your data in there. Just make sure you have the same number of pieces of data in list 1 and list 2. And like I said, don't enter those last 3 in there. And then if you go to the stack button, which is right underneath delete, you go over to the calculate menu. Number 5 is quadratic regression. That's what we want. Our data was in list 1 and list 2. You really don't have to use any of these other things other than calculate. Right, and it gives you the equation then. So your A is -1, so -1x squared, plus 36x minus 288. This r squared thing is just telling you it's a perfect regression there. 100% of the data is correlated. So we can go back then to, hold on, there we go. So then my bluebird's equation is y equals -x squared plus 36x minus 288. All right, and then for the questions, like I said, I'm not sure which equation was yours. What I would do at this point is I would take these 4 equations and put them in your graphing calculator here. I thought I had these all entered in here. I do. Okay, good. So I put these in here so that I have the bluebird is blue, is going to graph from blue, the red bird is red, the black is black, and yellow is yellow. So if you go through and you enter each of those equations into your graphing calculator, I don't know if you have a colored one or not, but just remember which one is which there. And then if you graph these, let me go back here. You want to change your window. So you had data points for the bluebird, and he went from x was 12 to 22. So I would make that window a little bigger. I like to be able to see the x-axis and the y-axis. So that's why I went from -2 to 30 for that, so I can see all of the graph there. We went up by 2s. And then the y-min and y-max, I looked at those outcomes for the bluebird, and it looks like he goes up to like 36. I figured if I go up to 40, I'll be able to maybe see the tops of all those graphs. And he started at 0, so it went a little bit below so I could see the x-axis there. All right, you don't have to worry about res and the delta x and all that sort of thing there. So now that you have the window set up, you can hit your graph, and that's the trajectories for each of the different birds there. So like I said, what was the maximum height of your bird? Well, it depends which colored graph is yours. So if you're, I don't know, whatever one here, I go to second and the trace button, the calculate, number 4 is maximum. We can find the maximum height for whichever one. Now it starts on the first equation. This is y1. If I don't want y1, I think I can, maybe I can't. You might have to turn off the other ones if you don't want the maximum for y1. You can see the blue one is the one that goes the highest there. So left bound and right bound. I don't know if you've done this in class or not. I'm guessing you probably have. So the maximum happens when x is 18 and the maximum height is 36. And since if you don't have a colored calculator, you may just want to graph these one at a time, and you can look at them individually there. So that would be the maximum height for the bluebird. You can do that for the other equations as well to see what their maximum heights are. The total distance traveled by your bird, I'm going to guess that E1's just the ground distance, not the actual parabolic trajectory there. So ground distance, you could just subtract your x coordinates on the bottom here. If you're not sure how to find those, again, you would just go to zeros. So second and calculate zeros. And it's asking what the left bound is. Just hit enter somewhere on the left side of that place where it crosses the x-axis. Now it's way below the x-axis there. You don't want to guess. So you can see that that 0 is at 24. I think that was one that was given to us. So I just think he wants that horizontal distance along the x-axis between those points there. And then the other question is the king pig. Who killed the king pig? This is where the color calculator is really nice. If you go into second and the table function, which is the graph button there, these are x values, and then each of the different colors are the coordinates that correspond, the y value that corresponds with that x coordinate and the different ones there. So you just type in 22, when x is 22, which colored graph gave us the outcome of 20, you can see it's the blue one that has the outcome of 20. And then you can do the same thing for the mustached pig, I guess it is. So when x is 11, which one is it? The black curve has a y value of 16. It's the same thing that you would do as if you plug the value into your equation there. So for the king pig, the point 2220, right, which one goes through that, you would just have to plug those x and y coordinates into each equation there. So if you look at here's the Bluebird's equation. So y equals negative x squared plus 36x minus 288. You really could just plug the x in. Is negative 22 squared plus 36 times 22 minus 288. Does that actually equal this y coordinate of 20? Is it equal to 20? So does it equal 20? If it does, then that's the one that works for it. If not, then you try another one. So that's how you would do that by hand, is plug that in individually to each one. So I hope that helps. I think I pretty much answered your questions there. If not, just shoot me a text and let me know, and I'll help you figure it out some more.